Hi, and welcome along to AFTV. We're here for another live looking ahead to the big one tomorrow. Big game. I know some people may not feel that way because after what happened to Fulham, it's a big game. Arsenal versus Monaco. And here to discuss it with me, I've got James. How you doing, James?
Getting over Fulham.
I haven't seen you since Fulham.
I know.
How did you feel after that? I mean, being at the game, they parked about 10 buses across that. We just couldn't break them down, innit?
But then we did, and we couldn't finish. I mean, how many times has that been the story of?
Yeah.
You know, that was a prime game where like the set pieces could have bailed us out, and it did for one goal. It a slight offside for Martinelli. Let me ask you something, Robbie. There's a lot of debate. Was Martinelli just unlucky, or was that really poor from him to be offside from that position? With that, we're not. There's no witch hunt. We're not blaming him. But I just wonder what you make of the offside.
Poor.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Poor to be offside from there, because I think, listen, if it's me and you playing in a Sunday league game, we don't even realise what's offside.
Yeah.
These guys are professional footballers. They practice for this stuff every single day. If you actually look at it, look along the line. Soon as you know what's the telltale thing which shows you that he should have stayed on side? Is as soon as the ball was passed to him, the player nearer to him puts his hand up. Like he's offside.
Player did that, yeah.
That's criminal.
Yeah,
he should never have been offside for that, right? He should have timed his run, stayed on side, and we would have won the game.
Yeah.
You know, deservedly so as well, because we were knocking on the door, we were pressuring them, but he's got to stay on side. I do think he was at fault for that. I really do.
I do. It was a great cross. I mean, he nearly pulled out the most creative and inspired moment of the game. I mean, it was a wonderful cross to the back post for Saka, where Saka had to get his head on it on target, and yeah, as we saw, end up in the back of the net. But I do agree with you, because this is the other thing for me that makes it more his fault rather than just unlucky. When a player's making a run in behind, I'm slightly more forgiving, because it's also about the timing of the pass and quite a few things have to go your way, and sometimes you get caught by the offside. But he was waiting for a ball played out wide. I mean, he's not making a sprint towards it. So, it's a shame. And I think there's been a bit of a pile on Martinelli. And look, I've been a part of the criticism. I still think there's a very good player there. And I'm sure he'll bounce back, because that's actually the kind of mentality he has. But he might need to start against Monaco with that.
Yeah, well, we got left, right? You know what I mean? Because yet again, and this was the other thing that a lot of people didn't really talk about, and it shouldn't really have made mega difference because we actually dominated the game. But the amount of injured players that Arsenal are just racking up right now. I mean, in that game, no Gabriel, no Calafiori, no Zinchenko, is it? Because I was thinking, all right, maybe Zinchenko, he's out again.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of injuries we're getting. Why is Gabriel out, by the way? Do you know?
So I had to look it up in the middle of doing my breaking news here on AFTV, and it's a knee problem, which I didn't realize. But also this thing that's happened in the last, I want to say it's this season, but it might have been last season. I don't know if you've noticed it, Robbie. We think a player might make a certain game, and then they miss the next three. So we thought Gabriel was going to be fine to continue the West Ham game. Then we thought it was a late fitness test for Man United. And now we might not miss the following 3 games on from that. It's really strange. And we've had that with Tomiyasu. Do you remember Tomiyasu? The reports were he's out for pre-season. No, he's played 10 minutes and it's December. You know, that always happens. You know, it's like, late fitness. I remember Saka. He came off for England and we were told, doesn't look anything serious. He should be fine. He ended up missing Bournemouth and Shakhtar. So there is this thing that happens at Arsenal where it's almost like they're lying to us to keep us quite calm. They'll be fair, it won't be long. Where, actually they missed
injuries.
God.
You know, the thing that made me laugh, right, is that now I saw Arteta's press conference. He's talking up a player that's always injured as the player now that we're going to be relying on in Kieran Tierney, right? So it's...
Oh, did he? I haven't watched it. Is that what he
said? He was basically saying that Kieran Tierney is ready to play, could play, and has looked great in training and all this sort of stuff. So Kieran Tierney could be, which by the way, I'd love to see him back in the team.
I would love it for him. I would love it for him. And also let's remember that Kieran Tierney 2-3 years ago, we were putting him in left back and best left back in the league debates. I mean, and I'm
Yeah,
not saying he ever was, but we shamelessly would put him up against most. I mean, we rated him that highly.
yeah,
But we haven't seen it. I mean, for so long. I mean, I think
yeah.
last season he was on loan. The
Last
season
season
before
on
that, we
loan
were
at
asking him to
Sociedad.
invert. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
not. Look, I would love for him to be available and play a bit of football because there
Well,
is a very good footballer there.
yeah. In his press conference, these were the words of Mikel Arteta. He said he's ready and training really well, and he's going to have an opportunity for sure. The way the team is looking at the moment,
Oh, that's
he's
nice.
going to do that for that reason and because he's earned it. The way he's behaved, the way he's been with us, and because he's willing to do it. When that happens, you have to give opportunities to these kind of players. And so Kieran Tierney could be in tomorrow. Of course, left back position at the moment, because Timber's not been in training either. I mean, you just remind everybody right now of all the injuries because you did do a show
Yeah.
about an hour ago talking about injuries.
So the context to this is that the Sky cameras and all the media that are allowed for this open training session get 15 minutes. Like they are not capturing the whole day. And also they're capturing it around 1-2 p.m. on a Tuesday. The game is at 8 p.m. on the Wednesday. So with the heavy fixture list that we've got, there's every chance that Arteta, playing some mind games maybe too, just went, leave these players out of it, rest them up, or whatever. We don't want to give too much away. But the players that were missing or weren't filmed training were Gabriel, Thomas Partey, Tomiyasu, Ben White, Calafiori, Timber, and Zinchenko. So 2 back fours. Extraordinary. No, it's not a thumbs up from me. That's not a thumbs up from me. But it's an extraordinary list. Now the context, as I mentioned on the breaking news, was that Gabriel came off against West Ham. But remember, he's come off 3 times this season. Liverpool, Sporting, and now West Ham. That's 3 games he's actually come off. So I wonder if there's a little recurring issue we don't know about there. Thomas Partey missed the West Ham game through injury, but returned from Man United and Fulham. Tomiyasu has a long-term problem that he can't seem to get past. White's had surgery. Calafiori, we don't know. He's been quite injury-prone this year. Timber was always going to be in and out with the ACL, and Zinchenko's always been an injury-prone player too. So it was a good thing we're stacked in the defence because
if we hadn't gone and bought all those defenders, then he must have seen something coming. And this is the interesting thing. I saw this. This is the let me see if I can find it here. The injury table for the Premier League, right? Where do you think we are in that table out of all 20 teams of having the most injuries?
I think we're first.
We're not first.
Oh, that's a shame. I had my excuses ready. Okay, fourth?
Third. And that's only by 1 player, right? So the team that's had the most injured players this season is Ipswich. They've had 17. Brighton have had 17 and Arsenal have had 16. Spurs have also had 16. Villa 15. City, who everybody's been talking about their injuries, they've had 14. And bottom of that table, the team that's or near the bottom of that table, the teams have had the least injured players. Chelsea, 4th from bottom in that table. So they've hardly had only had 8 injured players. And it's very interesting because in this table I was looking at, it shows the amount of days lost by those injury players. 406 days lost by injured players at Arsenal. When you compare that to, say, Manchester United, they've had 265 days lost. Liverpool, who they've only had 11 injured players this season, only 382 players lost. 382 days lost, but they've had 11 injured players. Arsenal have had 16. A lot of injured players this season. Injuries has really been a problem.
Yeah, it has been. And also, I think, some rival fans have been coming in and saying, what you complaining about an injury crisis for, it's not that bad. And to a degree, I can see why some of them say that. But I think what's been missed is, I'll tell you why, because it's not like, so for example, for most of this season, we've still been able to field, Declan Rice, Partey, Saka, Havertz, Martinelli, most of our front 3, the centre-back partnerships, bar the Saliba, red card have been intact until recently. I think what I'm trying to say is we've still had a lot of key players available, bar Ødegaard, of course, was the real long-term absence. I think the bigger issue with our injuries has actually been the context and the timing of a lot of them. So, like, we go to Tottenham with a ridiculous red card for Rice, Ødegaard unavailable, and Marino's like injured in his first day. You know, we go into the Liverpool game already with Saliba missing, and I think someone else, Calafiori, and then Timber and Gabriel have to come off. You know, and it's like.
And Ødegaard is missing in that game as well. We have had some key players out in some of these big games.
Yeah, no, we absolutely have. We go to Man City without Ødegaard, without Marino available to play. And some people go, what you can play about Marino for? This was a £30 million player who's brought in to add depth and steel to our midfield.
Ben White's been out half of it. You remember Ben White was a fixture last season. Right. He's been missing a lot of times. We had to be putting Thomas Partey there. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you said, Calafiori's been in and out, really. Yeah. And remember, he's effectively a new player. Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of we had Saka missing a few as well. Remember, he got injured on it. So there have been some pretty key players missing. Then when you add into the fact that we played about 3 of those games with 10 men, it ain't been helpful. You know,
that doesn't help. That doesn't help at all.
And the thing is, right, when you're talking about margin for error being very small, even though it will look like we're whining about injuries, and it happens to every club, and you've got to cope with it, and even Arteta said that in his press conferences, the ultimate thing is in games of small margins, injuries do matter.
Yeah, of course it does. Absolutely it does. I mean, but I mean, Arsenal, I don't think have been as bad as some of our results have shown this season. But at the same time, I also think we have been on the margins. You know what I mean? Like I thought we were slightly better than Liverpool on the day, but only slightly. So they can pull out a moment, like a pass from Trent and a cutback from Nunez, whoever it was, and suddenly it's 2-2 and it's 2 points dropped. You know, the Man City game, brilliant first half, and do you know what? I'm not even going to mention that because that was one of those where the red card ruined it. The Tottenham game, you know, I was delighted with our performance that day, but at the same time, it was a set piece, and the one moment we win 1-0, and we have been kind of just on the margins with the wins and the defeats. The Chelsea game, on another day, we win that. We kind of create just about enough.
Chance right at the end.
On another day, we kind of win that. But that other day, when I keep saying on another day, we beat Fulham, we beat Chelsea, those other days were Tottenham and Villa away, where Watkins missed 2 sitters, where Tottenham weren't at the races, where a set piece kind of got us the win. So we're just always teetering on that. Like we're kind of always just a bit better than the opposition, but you got to have a little bit more than that, I think.
Yeah, let me do a couple of super chats here. This one coming from Abdullah. He says, I still think that Skelly will start over Kieran Tierney. We need that, to be honest. I'd rather see Kieran Tierney start, if I'm being honest. If it comes down, what would you?
I tell you why I'd want Kieran Tierney. It's because I think Josh Nichols is going to have to play right back. And the idea of...
I saw his mum the other day, by the way.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did she tell us if he's playing?
Where did I see his mum? It was in Sporting, I think it was.
She had the Lisbon game.
Yeah, I'm sure it was at a Sporting. Was it? But I saw her the other day, and she was very glad to see that he's back in the squad, sort of thing. Although he didn't actually play in that game.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, listen, he might have to play.
He might have to play.
You know, I like him. He's actually a different profile of right back. He's very quick. He's more of an old school overlapper. He kind of looks to me anyway. And in Kieran Tierney got experience on the other side, and I do think. I mean, basically, you're asking Jakub Kiwior to step up as a senior player with Lewis Skelly and Nichols either side of him. So I think you've got to get Tierney in there for that.
Yeah. This guy, Mick Meltiki, Texas, says, sell Martinelli as soon, assuming we can. I mean, like you said, there have been some people who've turned on Martinelli. And there's this one, Irfan says, your thoughts on Dan Ashworth in as Arsenal's director of football? Been watching AFTV since Claude times, watching AFTV on my birthday. Happy birthday going out to you, Irfan. Big up to yourself. Dan Ashworth. You know what? I thought this guy was, they talked him up as a bit of a genius in the transfer market. But when I heard those rumours that, he's looking to bring in Gareth Southgate, would keep him away from Arsenal.
Yeah. I think that's my conclusion. I don't really love the business United have done. But I got to say, he did great work at Brighton, like great work at Brighton.
Yeah.
So yeah, and no, I don't want Mourinho.
Yeah.
But Mr. Unknown.
Bringy Marino says Mr. Unknown. And Kaiser Franz says, hey, Robbie, I'm sorry, but I want to talk about Ty's behavior yesterday. He basically sat out Ty is talking about Emma Hayes. This is no longer funny. It's bullying. It has to stop this with his hate. There's nothing I can do, Kaiser. I've tried. He doesn't like.
Was he
Emma
really
Hayes.
got it in for Emma Hayes?
Ever since she pushed Jonas in that game against Arsenal, Chelsea women, he does not like Emma Hayes whatsoever. And I've tried, Franz. It ain't working, mate. And I can tell you that when he gets to be in his bonnet, it's over. And it's not bullying. It's just how he is. Right? James, this game tomorrow against Monaco.
Yeah.
Big game, I feel. Yeah. Now, when you look at the Champions League table, Liverpool are top of that table at the moment. I think they were drawing with Girona, actually. I'm not sure if that's still the case. But Liverpool are top. Inter Milan second, Barcelona third, Borussia Dortmund fourth, Atalanta fifth.
Salah penalty, 1-0.
1-0. I get so many penalties, them lot. Atalanta, Bayer Leverkusen, Arsenal in seventh, Monaco, who've been going well in the tournament, in eighth. They did lose their last game, but they're in eighth place. Then Villa and Sporting, 9th, 10th, Brest. There's a lot of teams on 10 points that we're on 10 points. Aston Villa, Sporting, Brest, Lille, all on 10 points. I mean, it's really bunched together. Now, I think it's very important at the moment that you try and get in that top 8. The reason why I say that, Real Madrid, right? So let me just explain again. It's the top 8 teams that qualify automatically. Then teams 9 to 24, they have to play off against each other for a place in the knockout stages, right? At the moment, we're in the top 8, just about. Yeah. Even as I said, it's only on goal difference. But if you look at some of the teams in that that sort of group where they'd have to play off, right down the bottom of that group, in 24th and 25th place are Real Madrid and PSG, right? And hovering around there as well is Juventus. You do not want to be going into a playoff and playing any of those teams, do you?
No. I think you're absolutely right. And look, I was guilty on Forever Arsenal of saying that I just want the next Premier League game to come around, that we need to get 3 points back on the board, that we need to put momentum in the league, and that I can't, I was struggling to muster the energy for the Champions League, but that's really wrong of me. A, because it's a competition we've never won and I really want to win it, and B, because absolutely nothing is given in this competition, and Real Madrid and all these teams you've mentioned have shown that this league phase is getting the better of a few others. Now, we've actually navigated it quite well. I actually think on another day we could easily be unbeaten. I think we did well enough at Inter to get a draw, not to be, but we've drawn at Atalanta and won pretty much most other games, and that win against Sporting was fantastic. If we beat Monaco and then we beat Girona at home, isn't it? No, Zagreb at home, and then Girona away. So if we win our next 2, I kind of think that would be enough to cement a top 8 spot. And to put our feet up while a lot of other heavyweights are, looking like they're going to have to sort of throw fists in a qualifiers match, an extra 2 games in the middle of a busy February, you're kind of thinking about the running and everything. Just no one needs that. So I think it's big for momentum. I think it's big for Arteta figuring out whatever he's got to figure out, and a home game is always good for that kind of thing, especially when it's not obviously it's a must win in terms of the expectation, but it's not like everything dies if we don't win tomorrow. So I think in that sense, it's kind of good for Arteta and the team. But you're right, from the Champions League perspective, it can be a massive jump, as that win in Lisbon was. It can be a massive jump towards just securing that spot.
Yeah. The other thing the point you make there about the playoffs. Now, I'm not sure what the exact date of those playoffs will be, but it'd be in February, right? So February fixtures as it stands, City at home, 2nd of February, Leicester away, West Ham at home, and then got to go away to Forest. So, and then there's will probably be some FA Cup in there if we get past United and stuff. Don't really want to be playing no sort of, 2-legged tie over that, especially if we're hoping that we're still in that title race. Liverpool, the way they're going at the moment, looks like if they win tonight, then literally through.
Yeah.
I think tomorrow's game is very important. I know a lot of people have just been, whinging and moaning about the Fulham game. We got to put that to one side now and say to ourselves, this game is very important because as I said, number one, you could get that fixture pile up in February. And number two, as I said, you could end up, as things stand, playing a two-legged tie against Real Madrid. You don't want that. Or PSG. Or Juventus. There's some big teams down. As it stands down there.
It's a nightmare situation. I mean, and even if you drew the worst team possible and you're expected to sail through, you've still got to put the players on the pitch. You've still got to play 180 minutes of football. You still got to do the travel. You're still going to go full strength because you want to guarantee that you pick that spot. I mean, it's essentially a round of 32. It's a we call it a qualifier, but it's basically if you finish top 8, you get a bye to the round of 16, and you want that because it's just the amount of football that teams are playing. And I think you can see Arteta, who's not one over the years to have loved rotation, even he's starting to rotate a little bit. Look at his injury list we just went through. And, in other clubs, mentioning their injuries, Chelsea, Man United had loads last season. Every club's been affected by it in the last couple of years in one way or another. So anything that just avoids more football, apart from getting knocked out of competitions, anything that avoids more football is what you want to achieve, really. Managing the minutes properly. And I agree with you. And also, Robbie, I'll tell you why else it's unacceptable to not finish in the top 8. Because what a position we're in to do it. I mean, we've got 2 home games next. It's like if we don't, it won't just be a case of, that's annoying. We've got a good team to play and we have to play 2 extra games. That's a bit of a hassle. No, it would be like, well, how did you lose it from this position? I don't think everyone would have had Arsenal to finish top 8 honestly, we would have because we rate our team. I'm not sure everyone would have had Arsenal to finish top 8 originally. So they're not good in Europe and, they navigate the new system well. We've had some tricky games in there. But we're actually doing a good job of it.
Yeah. And it's a very important game. Raider Mars says, Robbie, can you tell me the story of when you were in Monaco with Claude and how you bailed him out after he lost his wallet during that trip? I remember, rest in peace to GOAT. I remember he lost his wallet. He was going absolutely crazy. And we just helped him out. You know what I mean? As friends do. You know what I mean? I was like, what are you worrying about, man? You know what I mean? All right, you've lost it. We're here. We're not going to make you starve, are we? You know what I mean? So, and the funny story, I was actually telling a funny story yesterday about Monaco in that we played Monaco away. I think I was saying it on Bias yesterday. We played Monaco away, James, yeah? And we all went for a big meal at this restaurant by the harbour. Beautiful. Went in there, steaks, everybody's eating, brilliant, drinks. There's about 6 of us, brilliant. A couple of them said they're going to have a cigarette, came out. I don't smoke, but we came out, we're chatting, and then we're looking, we're saying, I better get off to the game soon, man, because the game's going soon. And then we all go to the game and we're in the stadium and stuff like that. And then somebody turns around and said, how much did the bill come to? And we're like, oh shit, we didn't pay.
Oh no.
Right, so I don't know, right? There could be a reward or something out there in Monaco for me or others, right? Sometimes you go to those shops, right, and they've got pictures of people that shoplifted or nicked something. And they got it there.
Rob.
Now, it was completely innocent, right? And we couldn't go back to the ground because obviously we couldn't go back to the place because actually we was in the stadium. And then obviously once the game finished, like the next day we flew back to it. But there's some restaurant somewhere where a big bill was there and police in Monaco could be looking for me. So I'm glad the tie...
Pictures of you lot, yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad the tie's at home.
Yeah.
But listen, it's such an important game. Could Balogun play? Remember, he plays for Monaco.
Yeah, look, I'll be so upfront with everyone. I know Monaco, I think, are 4 or 5 points behind PSG. I'm not sure how he's doing. I know it wasn't an overwhelmingly great first
3 goals, I think he's got this season.
How many?
3, I think. He hasn't been ripping it up.
Yeah, I mean...
I think he's just returned from injury as well.
Okay, that's one of those sales that's aged quite well for Arsenal. I mean, I'm
Mm,
just looking at their last 11. He didn't start again. Is that
mm.
injury related? They've
I
actually got
think
PSG
I
next at
don't
home.
think it's
Oh,
in.
Balogun started away at Marseille in the 2-1 win. Okay,
No,
so
they
2-1
lost.
defeat.
They
They
lost.
lost.
They lost to
Yeah.
Marseille. Yeah, I
Last
mean,
Champions
yeah, he
League
has been
game.
out for a while, but he's back
Yeah,
now. But he's not really ripped it up since he's been there, to be honest.
fair.
So yeah, you're right. That remember how everyone was losing it when we sold him.
Yeah, yeah.
It's kind of looking like a good sale now. But he returns, another old boy. We've just had to face a couple in our last game in Smith Rowe and Leno. Another one we'll be facing. And Monaco been going well in the Champions League this season, as I said, on the same amount of points as us. And their last game was a bit of a surprise defeat. Wasn't
Home
it?
to Benfica.
At home to Benfica. I think they were down to 10 men. Surprise defeat, but let's be under no illusions. This is not going to be an easy game.
No, it won't be. By the way, shout out to Hando Ozil, who's confirmed in the comments that Balogun is injured and didn't travel with the squad.
Oh, he's injured again. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Zakaria or Zachariah? Zakaria?
He was at Chelsea, the Swiss player. He was at Chelsea, yeah.
Yeah, they had him on loan, didn't they?
Yeah.
So let's look at this Champions League table. So Monaco, you're right. I mean, that's the other reason this is so big, because basically we can make up a 3-point gap on the team that are currently 8th in the top 8. I mean, that's a good thing. Just open a bit of a distance there. Villa, I think, have an away game next. Sporting probably do, because they just played at home. So, I mean, actually, it's kind of an opportunity if we do our job to, just put ourselves in a great position with a home game following after. So
we have been strong. To be fair, we have been very strong at home in the Champions League. That over the years. So but I remember Monaco turning us over in the Champions League. Over 2 legs. So it's not going to be an easy game. Malk says us Arsenal fans at times really are ungrateful. Cried for 4 years. We wanted a Champions League. Finally, we have it. And some are treating this game like it's an Emirates Cup game. That is a great point. I mean,
fair enough.
Very true.
Totally,
I think it's got a lot to do with the format as well. I'm still not sold on this format. I don't know about you, James. Me, I'm not sold on it.
No, I loved it during the draw when we were finding out the different teams and how many different oppositions we were going to play and the big games. And I thought this has potential, but in practice, it's not great. The games don't feel as important. And I think I was saying to you in Milan that this could age well. It could get to the 7th and 8th games, and you're watching across all these games to figure out who's nicking a top 8 spot. And that could get really exciting. But basically the trade-off is that the first 4 or 5 don't feel particularly crucial. Even Real Madrid, they've lost 3 games. Does it feel like crisis for them? I mean, where are they? They are, actually, they are 24th. So that's not great. But let's say they win their next 3. My maths is terrible. That puts them on 15 points. 15 points at the moment is more than Inter on in second. So you kind of think they could win their next 3 and still probably nick 8th or probably find themselves in a good position to qualify. So I don't know. I've lost a little bit of love and tension for these games for sure.
Yeah. Abdullah says, with you, DR, Don Robbie, you're saying, hate the format. Madrid have already lost 3 out of 5 games and can lose today and still qualify. Had no urgency to throw everything at Liverpool for 3 points last week.
Yeah, great point.
And I don't know, man. It's just how I view this tournament, and then people was getting at me a few weeks ago when I said this. I remember Julian was getting at me, oh yeah, but you get to go to all these different places. I go, yeah, that's all right if you're a traveling fan who gets to go to all the games. But for me, the games seem forced.
I agree.
They seem forced. Yeah. They're like, well, what? You know what I mean? You play one team, there's no return game. You know what I mean? Why? Why it just seems like they're random games all over the place. Mm-hmm. And because they wanted to, 2 things: add more games for TV, which they've got, because it goes right up till the end of January. So that means now squads are more stretched. You've got the FA Cup coming in January. You've still got to go to Girona, all stuff like that. And then they've tried to make it so as much as possible, the big teams will still qualify. So Real Madrid, if that had been the group stages, they could be looking like they're out now.
Yeah.
But somehow, even though they've been absolutely awful in it, they'll probably still make it.
Yeah.
Can't be right.
I agree. It just feels like, you can lose 3 games and still finish in the top 8 out of like 30, whatever, something size. It feels strange to me, I have to say. And you're right. It does feel maneuvered to ensuring that less of the big heavyweights drop out.
Well,
Now
that's exactly why.
And we might appreciate, look, very biasly, we might appreciate when it's Barcelona, PSG in the in the round of 16 or whatever, because it's, I don't know, they've been saved because they finished 22nd but qualified. I don't know, and we'll watch it and it'll be a great game. I don't know, but it doesn't feel like it's, and of course it's based on merit. You've got to win, you've got to put the points on the board, you have to go through. Of course it is based on merit, but it just feels like there's a slightly thicker net stopping you from falling too low.
There's a Cabello. The score is, I think Liverpool are still, let me just double check, they're still winning 1-0. Yeah, 1-0. They've got a penalty. It's in the 90th minute, so Liverpool should win that game. James, I know you've got to jump off, so listen, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you,
appreciate
Robbie.
that, and of course, we'll be all there tomorrow for the game, so respect going out to James.
Thanks, Rob. Catch you on a bit.
Yeah, a bit of rotation now going on the channel, so James drops out, but we do have Marty. Marty, how you doing?
I'm very well, my man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. Listen, same thing I was just saying to James. Are you excited for the game tomorrow? I mean, it's a big game.
You subbed me on. You're using your squad rotation well, Robbie. Strength and depth in players. let's hope I
bought on the big centre back, Marty. Although the way your camera is, the way your camera is, you're looking like Lisandro Martinez right now. You know what I mean? You might want to...
you never know. I was 6'6", right? I know I drop down.
That's the only time. It's the first time I've had to look down at you. You know what I mean? Normally I'm going like this. When I interview you after games, I'm like that.
I know. I know. I've had some new equipment delivered, and I've had some, let's say, teething issues setting it up. So this is its trial run of trial run, and let's see how it goes.
All good. But it is an important game.
It is. I think every game at this level is important. Champions League against Monaco. I just saw a comment, and you guys spoke about it, that for years we wanted to be back in the Champions League, and for me that's what these nights are about. These big nights. Might probably be a cold evening up in North London, getting Monaco to the Emirates. They had a good 2-0 win. At the weekend, they're a strong side, and
no, they lost at the weekend. Actually, they lost to Marseille. They'd been actually winning a load of games, but
game before, lost to
Marseille on the weekend,
and they're third in the league, 29 points, 5 behind PSG, and level with Marseille. And it's going to be an interesting proposition. It's going to be a tough test. And this is for me what Champions League's about. And seeing a big name, they've gifted us some fantastic players. They gifted us. We bought Thierry Henry, I think Fabregas, Petit, and Aubameyang was there before, and obviously Arsene Wenger was at Monaco. So we've got there's some real history that goes on between these clubs. And I think I think that situation at the weekend was tough. I think we were all expecting 3 points to go to Craven Cottage and turn the tide like we did against Villa this season, and sort of right the wrongs from last season. And it didn't quite work out like that. And the disallowed goal in the 86th minute with Martinelli, it was. And it's like was it naive? Was it unlucky? Should he have known better? They do practice this stuff every day, but they're human beings, and these things do happen. And unfortunately, it did happen. The goal was given on the pitch, and it was only VAR that intervened. And there's so many of these situations where I sit there and watch the game and think, do you know what? We would have had this league wrapped up if it wasn't for VAR. But sometimes it works in your favour. We would have. Yeah. The amount of times I've literally seen it this season, thought, God. And if anything, I think sometimes the decisions have been on our side. Definitely at this side of the season, at the beginning of the season, we had some tough decisions.
Listen, it was offside. It was offside, and
yeah,
but I'm trying to turn my attention to this game now, right? And I think people have just got to get over the misery of that game, and they now need to, look at this game. It's a very important game. I mean, I see this comment here from Cabello. He says, I agree with Turkish. I don't care about the Champions League right now. I only care around February right now. I'm vexed with the draw against Fulham. Listen, it is draw. We lost at Fulham last year, right? Get over it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't win a game. Get over it. This game against Monaco, for me, is an important game. Win these home games, get through, right? As I was just saying to James, right? When you look at how those groups are, we could, as it stands, if we dropped into those, let's just say it finished, as it was, but we were into the sort of group.
Yeah.
We finished lower than where we are right now. We could face Real Madrid in a two-place playoff because they're right down the bottom. That could change later on when they play Atalanta, but that's a possibility. What we need to do as at all costs is try and get through as quickly as possible. Then concentrate, on the league. Now, Liverpool, credit to them, they've won all their games. They are now they're more or less through because they're going to finish in that top 8. That means they'll be able to rest players when it comes towards the end of that Champions League thing. They can send out all kids. It won't matter. As long as you finish in that top 8, you're into the next stage, right? Arsenal don't want to be in a position where they then got to go full pelt against a Real Madrid or a PSG over 2 legs. Let's try and get through as quickly as possible. I know people are frustrated after that Fulham game. I know Turkish what he said. I don't care. That's Ven, and I'm sure if you used to talk to him today, he'd be different because we need to win that game against Monaco.
I think we're faced with a situation now where we're kind of forced to rotate for the game situation that we're faced with. Unlike what you say about Liverpool, is get through the competition, and then once you're through and you're it's plain saying you've got a couple of games at that elite level of playing these Champions League sides and testing your team out and some of your other players. And that unfortunately is where we're at. I mean, we've got players. It's Kieran Tierney. This is something that keeps coming up for me, and people keep speaking about. He's been out for ages, and there was a time when Kieran Tierney was probably one of the first names on the team sheet at Arsenal, and then obviously he's had a huge injury layoff and hasn't been about. And this is potentially a situation where if we're that short in numbers and he is fit and ready to go, maybe we've got to see him. But I think definitely looking at this squad in the January transfer window, for me, we've got players like Tomiyasu. Will he ever, really, put an Arsenal shirt on again? I think up front, the other day showed with Havertz being ineffective. As much as I love the guy, playing Jesus, for me, you play him out wide. Up front, do we buy a number 9 like Gyökeres, who, if Havertz did set up that goal. But he was ineffective throughout most of the game, and then you can make that change, or you play Gyökeres, and then you can bring Havertz on for an option for him. Because I think we've got a few, Sterling. I think in a game like this tomorrow, we've got these options to play. They need to start. This is the time that they need to stand up and be counted. They really do.
Yeah, we could be seeing a Kieran Tierney in the game tomorrow, possibly.
Yeah.
I mean, Mikel Arteta was talking him up in his press conference. We
I
know
think we have to, Robbie.
There's possible injuries, but this is a serious game. We're playing against a team. I saw somebody saying it's an easy game earlier. It's not an easy game.
No.
They've been playing well in the Champions League. They're on the same amount of points as us, and they've been doing well in their league. Not an easy game. The game we can't take lightly. We need to play a strong side in this and try and get through this so that we're not playing those extra games.
Like you say with that, this is also a perfect opportunity with the team that are level with us on points. By beating them, it pushes them into that sort of playoff zone or that zone below us that they've created. So for me, it's the perfect opportunity to play well, get a decent result, get some confidence against a top Champions League outfit, and put maybe a little bit of a distance between them, push them into the lower part, because and that's only going to help us move. It really is. And don't forget, we've got this Christmas. The only thing in this next pile up of fixtures we've got. I mean, it's great watching football because I get to go tomorrow night, and I get to go to the Emirates on Saturday, then the following Wednesday, and it's constant football. But it's a lot on the teams. Luckily enough, I don't think we have to go outside of London until I think the 22nd of January or something like that. So you've got to take these positives as well. It's just a shame at the moment we've got so many injuries.
Lot on the players. I saw somebody say earlier in the comments, it's what we wanted. We want to be in the league.
100%.
Right? I mean, we're here now.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not a fan of the format, but I'm embracing it. I'm loving being in it. I love every time I hear that Champions League music.
Yeah,
and I want to try and win it.
Yeah, 100%.
Anybody who's taking this lightly, anybody who's there looking on this and saying, "Oh, I don't care." Well, I'm sorry, and I know people said, "Is that what Turkish said? He don't care." Well, listen, Turkish was there moaning about being in the Champions League. We're in it. We need. Yeah, no, I'll call him out. He knows me. He knows I call him out all the time. We're in it now. Let's try and get through as quickly as we can and avoid any playoff system or anything like that in February. We don't need that. Get through it, regroup, and go for that second part of the season, because obviously those games come after the transfer window closes. And I'm actually with you. I'd love to see us buy a striker in January. I don't know who that's going to be, because I just don't think Gyökeres will leave Sporting in January. There's also
do you not think? For me, Robbie, I think the only reason why he won't leave Sporting is potentially that re-hook up with Ruben Amorim, obviously at United, and that's a position that they need to fill. But I think
I look on it, Marty. Right? Is I always look on it from how a player's gonna think.
Yeah.
Now, he's not a guy that's got one or two clubs after him. He's a guy that knows at the end of the season there's going to be several clubs after him. Yeah. If he leaves Sporting in January, he ruins his legacy kind of at Sporting, because all the fans will be pissed off. When I was over there the other day, they all seemed pretty adamant, all the fans, that he's not going to go anywhere in January. They're still going for the league over there. I think when I last saw it, they were top. They're still in the Champions League. He's probably going to want to see that out, because he knows he's going to get his move come the summer. So I think it'd be even if you go and meet that release clause, because you can meet the release clause, but if the player himself says, "I'm waiting," you can't get him. So I don't know. I think Arsenal go and meet that release clause, and see what happens. But we could be faced with a player that says, "Actually, I'm going to stay and do this one for the fans. Then I'll go in summer when I've got a choice of Arsenal, Man United, this club, that club." You know what I mean? He'll get his big move. So, and with Sporting, they'll be in no hurry, because they'll get the money for him at the end of the season. So I think there are players like Osimhen, that's still available, that I think that situation is completely different, in that Napoli would sell him because they want the money. So
he's not at Napoli.
Yeah, he's not. Well, he's still a Napoli player, isn't he? He's not at Napoli. He's at Galatasaray, isn't he?
Yeah, I saw him at Galatasaray. When they were playing against Tottenham, and he banged a couple of goals in, and I was like, so he's gone to. I didn't actually know.
He's at Galatasaray on loan.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, like,
we could have him.
Napoli would sell him because they want the money from him. Remember, he only went to Galatasaray on loan because they couldn't sell him in the summer. They desperately want to sell him. Is that the player that comes in and is the difference for Arsenal? I don't know.
Definitely. I think, look, the amount of players we've got, for me, if I'm just being 100% honest, that as I look at the situation at the moment, there's a clear out of Arsenal players. I think, Sterling, I know it's very soon and he hasn't had much of an opportunity, but is that a long-term, option that's going to really work for us? Jesus is, the guy a while ago come out and said, "I'm not a goal scorer. I'm not centre forward." Whatever the exact statement was. We need to look. We need to strengthen defensively, and we need to, we need that the two elite players in both of those positions. For me, the defensive player that can play anywhere across the back, like a player like Timber, and up front, a target man, an out-and-out striker, so that will complement Havertz. So if it's not working with, like I said earlier, if it's not working with Havertz, we can bring him on, or if it's not working with that player, we can bring Havertz on. Also, Havertz is versatile as well. You can play him in a multitude of positions. I think we're so close to that finalised real squad where we've got complete quality in all areas. And I think now we're finding out some of the real injury prone players like your Tommy Asus, and we're finding out they served us a purpose. Don't forget when we were in that transition, we were coming up from finishing 8th, and we brought in the players like your Tommy Asus and Emil Smith Rose, etc., and those sorts of players. They were great. They got us into a position where players wanted to start coming back to Arsenal, because there was a period of time it's very hard for us to buy players, I think, just because of what was going on at the club, obviously with Wenger leaving and stuff like that. And then now we're in a position where we are a very legitimate outfit for anyone on this planet to come to.
Matt Carney says, Robbie, as a manager, I would probably be quite dictatorial. Do top-level managers listen to the advice of their players, or are they tyrannical? I think, listen, they do and they don't. You know what I mean? And Sadiq says, if we didn't sign a striker in the summer, don't expect to sign one in January. Not happen. Let's get real. We may not. I think, I heard what you just said there, Marty. For me, the absolute priority is a striker. I don't know if we need any more defenders. We bought loads. What happens when all that you said get another defender? What happens when all those guys come back? Ben White's got to come back.
No.
Sorry, a defender. Sorry, because
I do get that. But one thing I was just saying, I was thinking about this earlier, Robbie. Sorry to cut you, but I was thinking about this earlier. And do you know what? The Premier League is a really, really physical league, and I know all the other teams playing it, so it's no different. But the fact of the matter is, when you look at the amount of injuries that clubs pick up, you're gonna get injuries. You need cover.
But what I'm saying is, what happens if they all come? When they all come back,
they're all fit. Yeah,
defenders, right? Defenders. You've got Calafiori, you've got Zinchenko, you've got Kivior, Gabriel, Saliba, Timber. You got Ben White to come back. You got Tomiyasu to come back. What if you go and buy another defender and they're all fit? You still got Tierney. I don't think. Personally, I don't think. I mean, it's been stretched because of the amount of injuries we've had. And I was saying to James earlier that they did a table of injuries today that I was looking at, and Arsenal actually third in that table for the most injured players in the Premier League this season. 16 we've had. The Ipswich and Brighton are ahead of us with 17. We've had 16 injured players. We've lost 406 days worth of football to injuries, which is, it's awful. But we've got loads of defenders, and some of those players will come back. And I know it's easy to say now, but we need to look at, Thomas Partey was very injured, but he's, played a lot of games this season. So all those players come back. We're not really going to need another defender. What we need is a striker. I don't think when Havertz on Sunday was ineffective. When Jesus came on, I did not at any time think he's going to score. Even he's just not filling me with that confidence at the moment. And I think
wasn't going to happen.
Arsenal need a killer up front. That when you got a game like Sunday, that guy who could just turn that game in one moment because he's a natural striker. That's what Haaland is.
Yeah.
All right, Liverpool, not necessarily Salah's not a striker, but he's kind of like a striker. We need a player like that. And also, I want a player who's in the box. Because none of our forward players occupy that space right in the centre, what your traditional strikers do. So, as I said, Haaland is waiting in that box to score that goal. We look at other strikers in the Premier League at the moment who's scoring, like Isak. He's waiting in the middle to score that goal. Chris Wood is waiting in the middle to score that goal. We don't have that. Balls are whipped into the box sometimes. There's no one in there. Everybody's dropped off because they're not natural strikers. Jesus is not a striker. He's what you call a second striker. Same with Havertz. So if that only player we bought was a striker, I'd be content in January, because I feel that we do need that. But as that guy was just saying in that comment there, listen, we didn't buy one in the summer. Are we going to buy one in January?
We don't generally branch out too much in the January transfer window. We do dabble a little bit, but are they going to go and get that record? Gyökeres go and slap that on the table at the Portuguese Premier, offices. I don't know. I personally can't see it, but I
like
would
you said, as you said, slap that money down. Let them turn around, or let him turn around and say, actually, I don't want to go. A bit like what Nico Williams said in the summer, where he said, I ain't going. I don't want to go to Arsenal. I don't want to go to Barcelona. I'm staying here. Let him say that. Let's not just leave that unvisited, because we need a striker.
I think they did. It was it Thomas Partey. They did that with originally. They just walked into literally on the last day of the transfer window. They literally went down and just paid that release clause, hit it, and that was it. Right, you're coming with us. And sometimes you've got to do that. And I think this is, if Arsenal Football Club do it, will shut the fans up, because if it still doesn't work out, after going and getting, a real talisman, that out and out striker. I mean, what I saw is, sort of on Sunday, Declan Rice, there was that chance that came to him that he hits it first time and it just doesn't go anywhere. I think someone that's what they do finishing wise, and they're lethal. It's those match winning moments where someone can end up, changing the game in that situation. What's that?
Kwame says, what about bringing Aubameyang back, Derby?
You see the Saudi Pro League knocking them in out there.
I'm not too sure Arteta would be up for that. Bringing him back, a guy that he got rid of. Sud says, with all due respect, Robbie, us getting a striker in January is difficult. We haven't had a goal striker since Aubameyang. Havertz is not a striker. You can tell by his positioning and how Arteta uses him. And you're right. You're right, Sud. We've not had a striker since Aubameyang. And I think we need a striker. Interguna says Thuram is quality. He has been playing really well this year. He's at Inter. I can't see them selling him at all. I think we need a striker. I really do. We needed it in the summer. And when you get these really tight games, that's when I think you see even more.
Yeah.
That, somebody just loitering around in the middle who's a brilliant finisher. And then I think as well, if you have that clinical striker, it's another problem to defenders. You know what I mean?
It's also a massive change up front. It's an option. I think what we lacked on Sunday, which this is what I saw, this is what really sort of done it for me, is after 60 minutes when we brought on Jesus, exactly what you said. He just didn't look like scoring. There was no plan B. There was nothing. There was no, they just put 5 behind the ball, and they just knew that they could play the game out. And that was it. We were never going to score. You could have played that half for another 90 minutes. And the ball probably wouldn't have ended up in the back of net. Well, unluckily for the offside, there was just nothing. There was just nothing there. We need that. We need that player that's going to, so we can implement a different system on the pitch immediately.
Delvin says, hi, Robbie. The perfect striker is Isak. His Premier League experience, he's tall, he's a natural number 9, should go for him. I would love him. No chance we get him in January. I put this the other day, I think I said it's to Turkish we were talking about. I said, would you get Gyökeres in January, or would you wait until the summer and get Isak? He said he'd get Gyökeres in January.
Yeah.
If it came down to we could definitely get Isak in the summer, I'll probably wait, because I think that guy is absolutely perfect for Arsenal. But then I'd still have to go and get some sort of loan or something as a striker. Kwame says, Robbie, I think we should get Osimhen. He's gettable. And no, I can't. Carl Slade says, hold on, let me do this one. Carl Slade says, just read that United are wanting to get rid of Rashford. I'd have him, though, through the middle. Would you? Absolutely not.
We had this conversation the other day, didn't we, Robbie?
You'd have him in it. You'd have him in it.
No, do you know what? No. I'm not saying I'd buy him for Arsenal. I'm not saying. I think for Manchester United, I think he's used ineffectively and incorrectly. And I think he's still got. Do you think? I think for United, he can still do a job. I just think he hasn't been managed correctly. I think they're not getting the best out of him. I don't. He is a Man United fan at heart. It's like taking Saka to Man U. He's a
Marcus
gooner.
Rashford fan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Honestly, I've looked at him. He's playing down the middle. They've been playing him down the middle now. Since all right, he scored a couple of goals, but I'm sorry, he's not. Nah.
I know you don't. You got a thing for him, haven't you?
No, listen, he's all right. He's all right, and we all remember a couple of seasons ago he was electric, but I just nah. That's not, to me. Marcus Rashford does not improve Arsenal.
Robbie,
I'd rather Havertz.
No, let me ask you.
Any day, I'd rather Havertz.
Havertz is much better for Arsenal than Rashford.
Havertz does way more, right?
100%.
Because the thing is about Rashford as well. When he don't have the ball, he doesn't do anything.
Robbie, who would you rather if you had the free choice at Arsenal? Osimhen, Gyökeres, or Isak? Who would you?
Isak.
Really?
All day long. 100% Isak.
He's the last one that I'd have, if I'm honest with you. I'd rather have Gyökeres first. Gyökeres first. Do you know what? I think he fits better. He's that instinctive finisher. He's powerful. I watched the Porto game that they lost. They lost 2-1. He won and scored a penalty, and the guy literally had to rugby tackle him to the floor. He's a powerful player. He hits the ball well. He finishes well, and he's unbelievable. Osimhen is just a tough, out and out finisher. He one-on-one. That ball's in the back of the net, and I just think he makes great runs. And he's just that explosive player that I think we need. Isak, I don't see as much. Listen, he finishes, he scores goals, but I just don't see as much of that in him as I do the other two. That's just my honest opinion. I just think the other two are better than Isak.
No. To me, Isak, out of them three, is that it would suit Arsenal down to the ground, right? Because he's a great finisher.
Okay.
He's good in the air. He's quick. The way he moves, he would just suit. I watched that guy play, and I'm like, that's a guy who would just suit Arsenal's system perfectly. Gyökeres, I think, as well. You know what I mean? He's, like you said, he's more of a powerhouse type player. Yeah. Is he that guy with the intricate play and that with the older guy? I don't know.
I think he looks
like he's a power. He's a powerhouse. Osimhen's a good player. I'm not sure if he's clinical enough. He misses a lot of chances, but he is an out-and-out striker. But for me, out of those three, Isak, he looks like an Arsenal player at Newcastle. You know what I mean? And he'd be perfect. This Sadiq, by the way, he says Rashford in London. Arteta looking for him in a London club. And it's true. He would. He'd be down the West End. Like, you know what I mean? No.
He'd be falling out of faces and all that.
Listen, no chance. If Arteta was having issues with Aubameyang, what I've seen of this guy where he's at clubs over in Ireland and things like that the day before a game, no way.
Balloons and everything.
We want that balloons.
Yeah.
We don't want that Arsenal.
Nah.
You don't need that in Arsenal. There's this one. I saw Jonathan David up for sale for 15 million. Would you take him, Robbie? That's another player. It's a really interesting one with Jonathan David because he's sort of been around for a long time. He's always consistently scored goals for Lille. He's coming to the end of his contract. That's why he's quite cheap. Available on a free in the summer. Yeah, why not? We need a striker. I would definitely have a look at him. Sesko, listen, Sesko's just signed a new deal. I don't think he'll be available till at least the summer. Jonas says Chris Wood for January. Take it. That's not what we need. He's done well, Chris Wood. He's had a great season. But that's not. Listen, at the end of the day, it's not just about buying any striker. It's about buying a striker that you'll have for the next 3 years that's going to do the job for Arsenal. And that's why I think Isak. Scott says we get Williams or Osimhen, or it just becomes Wenger 2.0, and we get some great new stadium and expansion plans for the next decade. Oh, no, please. We're not aiming for top 4. We need a proper striker, Robbie. We do. I'm with everybody on this one. We do. Sell Jesus and keep Kai.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I agree with that
Definitely,
as well.
definitely.
I would move on. Jesus come in and Zinchenko and revolutionized Arsenal. Those two guys, remember when they came in a couple of seasons ago, they changed us into a team that was challenging for a title.
Yeah.
At the moment, Jesus is so badly off form, and I hope he can regain it from now till the end of the season. But even if he does, he's not your guy that's going to get you those 20 goals.
No.
I would, if an offer came in, sell Jesus, use that money, go out there and get a striker.
Yeah.
That's just how it is.
I think there's a lot of play. I think personally in January we need to have a little clear out. Clear the decks a little bit, and we need to, as I said, get that elite striker and get that another elite defender. Because when you're going back to that defending situation, I'm not just saying it's just by defenders. We've probably got 5, like for me, defenders that I feel comfortable with. Your Gabriel, Saliba, Ben White, Timber, and Calafiori. Who else out of that Arsenal squad is gonna, you're in a Champions League semi-final? Do you want in defence?
Yeah, but Marty, I think, if guys like Tomiyasu come back, he's a very good defender.
Do you think?
I think Tomiyasu,
really?
I think he's quality. He's just been injured all the time, but I think he's a quality defender. You spoke about a defender that can play right across their back. He's that guy. He can play as a centre back, he can play as a left back, he can play as a right back. Right? It's just that he's injured at the moment. But injured players, unless he's like, definitely not coming back, an injured player can come back. And then the problem you have is that if you've got all these injured players that come back, what do you do? What do you do with the new player that's come in? What do you do with those players? So I don't think we need a defender. Striker for me. That's what we need. But you know what, Marty? We've run out of time. The time has flown by. Thanks everybody for joining us today on this live. It's an important game tomorrow. Monaco, must-win game. Me and Marty will be there. Hopefully we can get the W and progress in this Champions League. But we get to find out tomorrow. Don't forget we're doing a watch-along to it. And we'll also be speaking to fans at the game. Games coming thick and fast. And then, of course, after that, Everton at the weekend. Marty, thank you very, very much for joining me today. Thank you also to James, who joined us earlier. And thanks to you guys. We'll be back soon with another live.